Good afternoon. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. And it's my pleasure now to just say a few words of introduction. So on behalf of Stamford American Schools, of which I'm superintendent and a title sponsor, this is my chance to say a few words. Don't worry, I'm not going to be talking about our new school, but just want you to know we're fully licensed and opening in September 2017. Hey. So our lunch and keynote speaker today is someone who is well known in his profession. His name is Nick Lai. Nick Lai is the Chief Talent and Financial Officer and co-owner of Hong Kong Broadband Network Limited. HKBN is the leading and most profitable provider of residential fiber services in Hong Kong, with a 20-year track record of successful service innovations and growth. HKBN's high-speed broadband service offerings are instrumental in positioning Hong Kong as the world's fastest peak connection speed country. The core purpose of HKBN is make our Hong Kong a better place to live. Nick joined HKBN in 2004 and has over 20 years' experience in the telecommunications industry. Nick is passionate about developing HKBN talents because he believes if you get the people right, the company will do great. His unique combination of being responsible for people and money gives him a different perspective versus focusing on just one of these elements. Prior to joining HKBN, Nick was a highly rated analyst as director and head of Asia Telecom Research for Credit Suisse and was involved in numerous global fundraisings for Asian carriers. It is my pleasure to welcome Nick this afternoon and encourage you to applaud him as he joins us on the stage as our luncheon keynote speaker, Nick Lai. Thank you.
Thank you. So today we're going to talk about co-ownership and why we believe co-ownership means less rules. And less rules mean more innovation, because all rules do is limit your flexibility, both your flexibility on doing the good things and doing the bad things. Who are we? We are Hong Kong Broadband. We are actually a startup company in Hong Kong about 20 years ago, and we've grown to become the largest and the most profitable fiber carrier in Hong Kong today in the residential space. Our core purpose, why do we go to work and spend the majority of our wake time in the office, is to make our Hong Kong a better place to live. Now, this may sound like a Michael Jackson chorus line, but we live it day by day, and we live it one day at a time, one connection at a time. Because at the end of the day, we believe, or we know, if you make Hong Kong a better place for two people, net, Hong Kong is already a better place. That's how we approach making an impact, one step at a time. We were founded in 1992. We started by selling those plastic calling cards in Chinatown in Canada. It facilitated a lot cheaper international calls. It facilitated communications around the world. Then we came to Hong Kong, and our unique element is we were founded on $1 million Hong Kong dollars, family and friends capital, on 10 people. And we compete against the largest carriers around the world in Hong Kong, the largest conglomerates in Hong Kong, and we kick ass. You know, we have taken market share throughout our 20 years, and we are the most profitable carrier today, etc. If you had invested $1 with us when we started up about 20 years ago, it'd be worth about $9,000 today. How do we do that? Everything we do, whenever we have an idea or a business plan, we ask, what's our LUCA? LUCA stands for Legal Unfair Competitive Advantage. So everything we do, we have to be able to do it better than our competition, do it faster, and turn their advantage into a disadvantage. One of our key LUCA is co-ownership. We believe this gives us the alignment of interests and the freedom to innovate. Actually, let me share with you my own background. So I used to run telecom equity research for Credit Suisse. I was an investment banker for about a decade. And I took this company to NASDAQ in '99 to raise the first batch of capital to fund the network we have today. I fell in love with the company during that process. So a few years later, I asked for a job from the founder. He asked me to take a 80% pay cut, which I happily did. I joined the company, I sold my home, and I bought 2% of the listed company. Because I knew I would never get rich from an entrepreneur. You may get rich working with an entrepreneur. That's the mindset we have today. We tell our people, you'll never get rich. You'll never get truly rich on your salary from HKBN. You may do quite well if you're a co-owner, and we as a company do very well. So that's the alignment of interest that we're talking about. That's the big picture. So what actually happened was in 2012, we went through a management buyout. The founder decided to sell the company, and we as a professional management team decided to buy the company. We don't have the money. We don't have $5 billion, which was the purchase price. So we got outside investors, a private equity firm, CVC Capital Partners, to back us. Originally, in the private equity industry, you supercharge the management team, and they offered us 7 times envy. 7 times envy means we will make 7 times more than what they'll make on exit. So the idea is you invest, you grow the company, and then you exit 3 to 4 years later. And we felt that was wrong, because that 7 times envy was limited to 10 people. So the idea is that you supercharge 10 people out of 3,000 people, they make a boatload of money, and the rest of the company is kind of squeezed. We felt it was, if you excuse the term, kind of very American extreme capitalism, concentrated wealth creation. So we actually negotiated down the envy from 7 times to 1.5 times, and then invited our top 100 managers in the company. So we gave up some upside, but spread out the pool. Based on this, 90% of the 100 people said they wanted to co-invest. On average, we put 2 years' salary, 180 million Hong Kong dollars. Now, 2 years' salary in the context of savings takes about 10 years. If you have a 20% savings rate, it takes you about 10 years to save 2 years' salary. So when 90 managers put 2 years or 10 years savings into the company, the lights just switch on. The next day, the alignment of interest, the way things are done, the communication, everything. It's just like turning on the lights in a dark room. And that's when we took the company from a private company to an IPO, public listing, in 2.5 years, which is kind of unheard of in the private equity industry. And we generated a 4 times return for the private equity firm and 6 times. So for those 90 managers, we turned 180 million Hong Kong into 1.2 billion, or 2 years of savings into 12 years of savings, which is a career lifetime of savings when you think about it. If you work 45 years, 50 years for your career and you save 20%, that's about a decade. So we did quite well. And then at the IPO, we expanded this whole co-ownership structure to now about 340 people. So we offer the top 500 people in our company out of 3,000 this invitation to co-invest. And about 65% say yes. Now, why I want to emphasize this point is we believe co-ownership cannot be given. It has to be bought, and it has to be by choice. When I was at Credit Suisse, instead of paying me cash, I was paid in stock. So I would have called myself, an analyst and reluctant shareholder, because I was not given the option to buy the stock. It was just forced upon me. At our company, we give you the option. If you decide to become a co-owner, you write the company a check, and you become a co-owner. And this is something that we're very proud of. If you look at my name card, together with 340 colleagues, whatever title we have, if you're a co-owner, it says "and co-owner." So that's the difference. And if you think about this, if you call our service hotline, our customer service hotline, the person picking up the phone is probably 1 layer removed from a co-owner. And that's why you get the kind of intimacy, the customer service that you get that makes our company stand out. When you look at history, and you look at David versus Goliath, I think actually history was mistaught. Because we often look at David versus Goliath as a reference to an outside chance, like the underdog winning, the 1 in 100 chance that he will survive, and he kind of lucked out. But actually, if you take a step back, David was the favorite to win. If you know the rules of the game, or the rules of engagement, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight from a distance. It's going to be based on accuracy and speed, killing from a distance, not a physical contact fight. if you know these in advance, before the fight, and you're a betting person, you would bet heavily on David. That's who we are. When we go into a fight, we know the rules of the game. And we know what lucre we have, and we fight on our terms. We only pick fights with bigger incumbents that we know we can win. In our culture, we talk about being humbly arrogant. Actually, on your tables, there's some glossary of terms that may help explain some of the terms that we use throughout the presentation. We kind of developed our own language, HKBNese, in our company. We talk about being humbly arrogant. To be humble enough to know that we have limitations, but to be arrogant enough to say that we can make big changes. This is another aspiration. I notice there's a lot of headhunters in this room today. We welcome you to call. We welcome you to headhunt our people because we want to become the most headhunted company out there. We want our people to be highly headhunted, but they stay because they want to stay. That's why we give headhunting leave. If somebody wants to take the afternoon off to go see a headhunter, we encourage it. In fact, we hire headhunters to come in and try and headhunt our people, just like how you hire hackers to come and try and hack your PC system, to stress test it. So this is the kind of mindset that we have. We want the best people, and the best people stay because they made a personal family choice to become a co-owner. Co-ownership is really a family choice because when you're talking about 2 years of savings, it's a family decision, it's not a personal decision. That's the kind of engagement that we want with our people. We do have a very strict dress code in our company. It's fairly simple, and most people do it by except the bankers normally have some issues when they come visit us. So, our culture, kick and kiss, sweet and sour. We want to be extreme. We don't want to be bland. If we were sweet and sour pork, we want the sweetness to stand out and to be offset by the sourness so that the combination is magic. We don't want to be kind of in the middle where many large companies are. So a few years ago, when we were still the smallest carrier in Hong Kong out of the 4 main players, we decided that we want to be number 1. So we set a very high, ambitious target. Every 6 months, we get the whole company together. We have these massive company-wide 3,000 people town hall meetings. And this is how we update our strategic vision, our operational updates. Maybe you can start by playing the kick video. So this was done in about 2006. This is our CEO. He's a former Hong Kong policeman. So this is how we set the target. And then a couple of years later, this is how we update the company on where we are. If you can play the second video. So this is Gem before she was famous, so she was a lot cheaper back then. We can't afford her now. This is a talent meeting. It's not a concert. This is our 6 monthly management updates. We're here to celebrate today. We just hit our subscriber targets. We've hit our profitability target. We've hit our home pass, our network growth target. We're here to thank you today for the hard work. So that's the work part. We talk about make our Hong Kong a better place to live. You know, our approach is there's a lot of things wrong with Hong Kong, but there's a lot of great things in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong's our home, is a place we call home, is a place we love. And there are things that we can change and there are things that we can't do. So we focus on the things where we have direct impact. Think about some of the big issues here, income inequality. So we have a co-ownership structure. Some of our younger co-owners in their 20s have made enough money to put a down payment on their home. You know, that's a big problem here in Hong Kong, so we're trying to address it as best we can. Education inequality is another one. We have extremely bright, highly educated people in here in Hong Kong, but also a lot of university non-graduates or high school dropouts. In fact, in our company of 3,000 colleagues, many are non-university degree holders. So we decided to build a program where we will allow people to have a second chance of getting a university degree. This is a 3 to 4 year program, costs 100,000 Hong Kong dollars each. We sponsor 80 to 90% of that cost, and we bring the professors in to teach at our offices. So you can hold down your full-time job and get a degree. Now think about this. The target audience for us is people in their 35 to 45-year-old range. They've been working full-time. They're typically the primary income earner of their home, so they have to maintain their full-time job, and they're going back to school for 3 to 4 years. One of them actually came up to me at our annual dinner, and he said to me, Nick, I'm going to be the first person in my lineage to get a university degree. My grandparents never had one, my parents never had one, and I'm going to be getting one soon. When I speak to my daughter, instead of telling her you should study hard so you can get a degree, now I tell her you should study hard so you can get a degree like me. So it's a life-changing event. When they did graduate, some 40 of them or 38 of them, another town hall, we focused on their graduation. They brought their families in, both their parents and their children came in, multi-generations were involved. It was fantastic. At the end of the day, this is the kind of things that we do because we feel it's just the right thing to do. Will we make money on this program directly? Probably not. But if we can show that for 38 people that can achieve incredible things, maybe that can inspire the rest of the company to do incredible things. Now, we don't all want another degree, but we do have aspirations in other elements that are just as challenging. And if they can show you can balance a full-time job and a degree, then maybe that will inspire others to do amazing things. That's how we think. In our company, we don't believe in work-life balance. I think there's a common term called work-life balance. We throw that out the door. We believe in, or we execute life-work priority. It's not a balance. Life is in capital letters, and it comes first, and work comes after. So we do things like we have shortened work day, instead of 9 to 6, 9 to 5, and it's flexi hour. You can come in half an hour before or after. No time clock, it's trust. It's based on the assumption that you can be trusted. We have a policy of no emails over the weekend, because I find emails are quite distracting on your personal time. Now, I still write a lot of emails on weekends, but I use a delay send function. So on Monday morning, 6:30 a.m., you get a slew of bing, 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 bing emails from me, but I'm not going to disturb you over the weekend. Because what we find is if a senior person sends an email, and typically CCing 20 people, everybody is rushing to try and respond, even though the response may not be needed until the workday. So we work based on life work priority, based on trust, based on the assumption that you are a good person. Actually, when I look at HR policies, we used to have one like this. When I first joined the company, we looked at the HR booklet. It was massive. It's like a phone book. And then I asked our HR people, why is it so big? Because she said, no matter what policy we write, somebody will try and cheat us. 1% will try and cheat the system. So then we have to write another policy to address that 1%. Then we decided to throw that out the door. Why don't we just fire the people who cheat us and then assume everyone else is trustworthy? Then we don't need any policies. Why write policies that restrict the freedom of 99% of the good people just so that you can track down the 1% of people who shouldn't be in the company in the first place? So that's why we work on a very rule-light environment. We talk about work at HKBN, this is more life at HKBN because we do spend the majority of our awake time in the office. We have extended maternity, extended paternity. We have all sorts of benefits. At the end of the day, we want to attract passionate people. We want you to either love or hate our culture, but not be indifferent to it. If you love it, consider joining us. If you don't need to go join the incumbent. Now, what we want to do is offer a package that is so compelling that you may be earning $200,000 or $200 in Central, but you're willing to come to Kwai Chung and work for $100 because you have your life back and you're doing something material. And you get financial upside through the co-ownership rather than through the monthly paycheck. But you get life. You get a life priority. Let me just skip to the... So we talked about the extremes. I think what makes our company different is it is the extremes. We are a performance culture. We are not a family. Please do not refer to us as the Hong Kong Broadband family. Rather, we are an elite sports team. We are caring for our team members, but we do not carry underperformance. In fact, every year we force rank our colleagues and fire the bottom 5% of the salary base. So not 5% of the headcount, because you tend to fire the most junior intern 5 times. We fire 5% of the salary base, so it's kind of seniority adjusted. And this is something that is typically the most controversial. At the end of the day, we believe this is necessary because we know we are not perfect in hiring people on the way in. So we need some sort of an exit valve. But this is what we do. And we practice this throughout our whole mindset. So if you look at our year-end performance, like last year we had a inflation adjustment of about 5%. The bottom 10%, including the 5% that are fired, will get 0. That means we can pay more to the top 10%. So by paying the bottom 5% 0, we can pay the top 10% a lot more. Last year we paid 2 months bonus, for example. The industry average in telecommunications was 1 month. Our competitors would typically pay between 0.9 and 1.1, the range. For us, it's 0 to 4. The bottom 10% gets 0. The top 10% can get 4 months bonus. And this is how we attract the best people to our company. And by doing it this way, we hope to move the whole distribution curve, give it a bit of a nudge towards the right side, the high performance side, by making the harsh, the underperforming very harsh, very unpleasant, and making the outperformance very rewarding. Okay. I think 99% of what we do is just like any other big company. This whole presentation is about the 1% of what we do that is differently. 99% of what I do is the CFO side of me thinking. 1% comes from the heart. We do it because we think it's the right thing to do. For example, for the last over a decade, this tradition in our company, every year we get the senior executives, about the top 150 people are invited. And we pick somewhere in the world to go to do an experiential trip. What is experiential? It's to do something that you normally wouldn't do with your families. To experience something new, to build teamwork. So these are experiential trips. They're not sit down and use the whiteboard and kind of do these workshop type trips. They just go and experience something different together because that's how we build great teamwork. Let me show you the one that we just came back from a month ago. If you can click on that Taekwondo picture, that should be a video. No, the Taekwondo. Yeah, that one.
이용한 직원이 어떤 하나가 되는 그런 이렇게 진행하겠다는 분명히 저희들이 봐서 아주 유능한 직원들이라서 그런지 아주 잘했던 것 같습니다.
So, we believe we do have better than our competitors' teamwork. Now, how is that achieved? Is through a decade of these trips. You're not going to get any benefit with just one trip, but imagine a decade of these trips. So at the end of the day, I ask this question. We run a $3 billion revenue company. It's not big. You know, it's a fraction the size of many of our competitors, but nonetheless, it's substantial, 3 billion Hong Kong. These trips cost us 2 million Hong Kong. So the cost to the company is 0.7 of a percentage point. My question is this: do you think a good management team can run this company better than 0.7%? Can we improve revenue by 0.7%? If you can, then we should go on these trips. If you don't, then we should stay back and do another normal week in the office. Now, the funny thing when I share this line of thinking with companies that are bigger than us, they kind of stare at us blankly and say, where do you get the budget for that? Well, you know, you just have to create it. So let me wrap up. Typically, after kind of this session, the most common question that's floating at the back of your mind is kind of cool, that's kind of quirky culture, but what does it actually get you? Yeah, your company can do that, but my company can't. Of course, we're not here to copy other companies. We're here to modify, to learn, to benchmark, and then amend to something that will work for your company. But let me share with you what our culture has delivered in terms of performance, financial performance. In short, we kick ass. We've been doing that. We've been kicking ass for over a decade, for 2 decades. We are by far the fastest growing subscriber carrier, the fastest growing revenue company, and the most profitable carrier. If you look at our profit margins, it's been heading in the right direction. The blue one is ours, going from 22% a decade ago to about 42%, whereas our competition is feeling the heat of competition. So we are having a good time. We are enjoying the fruits of our culture. It is a very, very serious culture. It's not right for everyone, but if you're a top performer and you're passionate about Hong Kong, send me an email afterwards. So in conclusion, to make an impact, to go beyond make our Hong Kong a better place to live being just a slogan, we have to make a positive impact. Poorly run companies do not have an impact on their communities. We think our company is actually too small to change Hong Kong by ourselves, but hopefully through sharing and through learning and through being a pioneer, we can influence change. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so Nick, thank you very much. That was, you do things differently. Well, some things differently, some things not. So do we have any questions? We have about 15 minutes, so plenty of time if anyone wants to ask a question. That's impossible. Okay, yes, here.
Thank you, Nick. Nick, given the really varying demographics of your workforce that you talked about, do you find that you've got to do things differently for your field workforce that might be a little bit older, or the great pool of graduates that you're trying to attract, or do you find that a lot of things that you're doing are just pretty applicable to your 3,000 plus people?
No, there is modification, but at the end of the day, people are people. I think we all have Maslow hierarchy of needs, and we're trying to appeal in that kind of context. Yes, you have to modify for different levels, but the concept is the same. I think certain groups of people really embrace this co-ownership. If you do, we're the right audience, we're the right company. Not everybody is right for our company, but we try and track. At the end of the day, we only need 1,500 people in Hong Kong. Half our workforce is in Guangzhou. So out of Hong Kong, we only need 1,500 people. We don't need a lot of people to like us. We just need 1,500 people to love us.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Does that? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone? Sorry, was there a question here? Paul? Okay, right. Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Nick. All right. We had the good fortune of going on one of the trips with HKBN when they went over to South Africa with the staff, and it truly is an amazing experience.
We don't have staff, remember? We only have
Talent with a capital T. I do apologise. My question is, where to next, Nick? What do you think the next big thing on the horizon is for HKBN in terms of doing something that you haven't done already?
Actually, we already started the game plan. We've moved from just being a fixed line carrier to now being a mobile carrier, and we're doing very, very well on that, and also on TV content, but working with partners such as tvb.com. So we are now a full-service quad play. The amazing thing about our company is 44% of the households we pass have a billing relationship with us. That's incredible. The only other companies that have that kind of status will be electric companies or utility type companies. 44% of the households we pass have a monthly billing relationship with us. And our current punching weight is only about 7% of the addressable household revenue. So we got plenty of growth in Hong Kong. We're very, very excited by the prospects in Hong Kong for the next few years. We have no ambitions outside of Hong Kong because Hong Kong is such a vibrant environment for us.
There's someone over here.
Hi, Nick. Over here.
Hey, hi.
Thank you for a great presentation. So as you say, the bottom 5% number really stuck out to me. And I was wondering if you've ever thought about changing that figure or under what circumstances you would adjust that number.
Actually, there's no magic to a 5%. We studied the Jack Walsh 10% rule and felt that was harsh, so we picked 5. That's about it. What I would say is a lot of companies kind of drill us on this point, and I would say the converse. Do you think by not firing people, your company is doing great? Our view is we don't need megastar performers. We don't need Michael Jordans necessarily. We just need a strong team. Most games are won by consistent play, and most games are lost by having a couple of bad players. So we find a lot of the crisis that we have, operational crisis, is created by someone who dropped the ball. You drop the ball on a customer service experience, they make it to the press, and then the whole company has to scramble to fix that small problem that should have been avoided in the first place. Think about whenever you try and do something in your company, how many people actually have affirmative rights? Not a lot. Even a CEO can give orders, but to actually get things done takes people. A lot of people have veto rights. If you don't like a project, you can be a very junior person on the team and you can slow down that project. We need to get rid of those people. That's how we feel.
Thank you.
Hi. I would have a question about yourself. You told us your story about you were a banker before, right? And now your title is a Chief Talent, right? Chief Talent and Risk Officer. And from the presentation, I see you more a Chief Talent Officer than a CFO. So can you tell us the journey that you went through, how you... I think it makes sense to be an investment banker, to be a CFO of a company, but how come you're now very much involved in the talent?
It's just something I enjoy. Operationally, it came by luck. So I joined the company as Director of Business Development. The CFO retired, so I became CFO. Then we did a global search to bring in a big hitter as our new Chief Talent Officer. This is about 8 years ago. We made an offer, he was meant to show up, and then he did a no-show. So my boss at the time said, why don't you try this? And on an interim basis. And that was 8 years ago, and I continue to today. So some of these things happen by luck, but I would say I do enjoy working with people. I mean, it's extremely gratifying to see the change of the company over the years, to run this co-ownership program, to explain, to share with them the 5-year plan on the Excel format. So a lot of my investment banking skills are highly relevant. How I pitch to an investor is how I pitch to a co-owner. we end up with a 90% success rate. I mentioned we pitched the co-ownership concept, 5-year plan, so forth, to 100 colleagues. 10 of them said no. 90 of them said yes. So I think that the skills are very much interchangeable.
And, yeah, we have 2. So Francis and you. Or the other person. Yeah.
Actually, if I just
Right
wrap
there.
up on that question, I think what lacks, a lot of HR executives, what they lack is an ability to talk finance. You know, so a typical kind of question I get raised at these conferences, it would be from a HR director. How do I convince my CFO to let me do that? Well, you have to be able to talk to the CFO in finance terms. You have to be able to talk in a long-term business return prospect, because if you can't, then you're just talking, it'd be like a duck talking to a chicken. Now, we have to be able to talk, at the end of the day, we are a publicly listed company, we are a for-profit company, we are not an NGO. The things that we do may seem very social, but at the end of the day, they're here to drive long-term, superior long-term profits. And you can see that in our financial numbers.
Great point. Yes.
Yeah, so you talked to us a lot about the successes of your programs. Can you name 1 or 2 failures and why they didn't work out? Sort of initiatives in terms of trying to engage your staff, talent?
Well, there's plenty of failures, but I think we cut loss on the failures and you move on. So there's lots of new ideas that never worked, but you start and you cut loss. I'm sure there are some people that cheat us, like people who don't do the full 9 to 5 kind of hours, or people who take extra sick leave when we stop taking a doctor's certificate. But that's part of being an open company. So there are many, many mistakes that we make, but we try and move on.
So win fast, lose fast.
Yes, indeed.
Francis, did you have a question?
Yeah, this may sound not intelligent of a question, but and we're an HR community, but I'm touched because it seems like you have and the whole company has a very high admiration for people. So where does this attention or value in people as humans come from?
Actually, it's just doing the right thing. I mean, from a financial perspective, from a CFO perspective, if you look at our P&L, our single largest cost item is people. We as a company spend more money on people than on CapEx, on network, or on marketing. So it's a bit of a no-brainer when you think from a finance point of view, where are you going to invest to get the maximum return? Then in terms of doing the right thing, is just, I think we all have a sense of what is right and what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. I do consider Hong Kong my home. I spent more than half my life living in Hong Kong. I do want to leave Hong Kong a better place, etc.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. May I? Thanks very much. Can I do this? Thanks. Nick, thank you
Thank you.
very, very much. It
Real
was
pleasure.
really fantastic. Right. Rose, Nick, let me thank you both, because you started the day off with a really, really invigorating talk. And Nick, I think you've given us a lot to think about. Doing things differently, but maybe not doing things so differently. Valuing people, putting the human back in human resources. So lots to think about. I won't go into the breakout sessions. There were 6 of them. The ones that I saw were all really good. So I hope that you got something out of that. I'll just remind you again that they were videoed, and so you will be able to see the breakout sessions that you couldn't attend in person. You can go online to the AmCham website soon. I'm not quite sure when they'll be uploaded. So I'd just like to thank all of the speakers and all of the moderators. And can I just ask a few people to stand up? So Amy, is Amy Benger here? No? Thank you, Amy. Okay. Tim Carey, Helen Colhoun, Tanya Menzel, Francis Tam, me, and unfortunately the person who's not here is Sean Ferguson. So this is the organizing committee, so lots of hard work went into this, so thanks very much, guys. You did a great job. Thank you. And the person who was in charge of all this was Sean Ferguson, who is an associate dean of the MBA programs at HKUST, and he has really, really driven a lot of this. Unfortunately, he had to travel at the last minute, and so as a fellow board member, I just stepped in, and you got me. I'd also like to thank again, our sponsors, because without them, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. So, of course, the Stamford American School of Hong Kong, thank you very much. You've been really kind to AmCham this year, so thank you. Agile One, our platinum sponsor, our gold sponsor, KPMG, the webcast sponsor, which is what you'll be able to see soon, is HKUST Business School. The bronze sponsors, ActiveOps and Blue Umbrella. Our official newswire partner, PR Newswire, and finally our media partner, HR Magazine, with Paul, who asks difficult questions. So thank you very much, and that's the end of the conference. Thank you for coming.